Welcome everybody. On behalf of the Scottish Maritime Cluster, this is the update on CMDC7 and ZEVI 2. I believe we've now done this. I think we've done this for every iteration of this, and we've always had a very positive response. The reason that we're recording the session is that we'll be putting it onto our website, and we'll be advertising from there as well to make sure that everybody can get sight of this. And I know that you're holding a whole bunch of other sessions, which I'm sure you go into some detail on during the presentations. The format for this, we've got 2 hours in the calendar. I don't expect it will take 2 hours. I think with presentations, they'll probably take in total half an hour, 45 minutes or so. There's then an opportunity for questions. What I would suggest is, as we go through, if anybody's got any questions, if you put them into the chat function, we can pick those up in case anybody needs to come off the call. We can pick those up at the end. And rather than have questions being answered as we go through, if we could wait until the end of the presentations, or at least the end of the individual presentations, if anybody's got any urgent questions, then please do put your hand up. Everybody's visible, so it's easy enough for us to bring you in, and there'll be ample opportunity at the very end to ask any questions. We've got Ian Salisbury and Joshua McMullen from DFT who are going to be first on to give us update in UK Shore. James Lovett from Innovate UK, and Simon Buckley from Innovate UK with Business Connect. So that's the order that we'll go in. And if anybody's got any questions in advance of that, take them now. But other than that, I believe, Ian, I'm going to be passing over to Joshua, or am I passing over to Ian? You just keep me right, but we'll leave it with yourself. If you share your screen, I take it you've got the presentations. If not, we have got the presentation and we can share that. That all looks good to me.
Great, thank you. Myself first, and I'll hand over to Josh. I'm just going to do a few quick words. So
I don't know if we're able to put that on. That's it. Perfect. Thank you very much. Right, I'll put my microphone in silent. I'll just hand over to yourselves.
Lovely, thank you. Blair, I think if you're happy, just keep it on the title slide. Josh will speak to the slides. I'll just got a bit of an intro. So firstly, thank you very much everyone that's been involved in organising and hosting today. I'm really excited to come talk to everyone about the 6-7 months of hard work that we've put in to ensure that we can be here today, hit the ground running as soon as possible with the R&D funding support that we're going to talk to you about today. In terms of introducing myself, I'm Ian Salisbury. I'm the programme manager for the UK Shore programme in DFT. So that's the UK Shipping Office for Reducing Emissions programme. My team and I have worked to help support and drive research and development for the clean maritime industry. And the UK Shipping Office Reducing Emissions programme is all about delivering grant funding support to the industry to help really keep momentum with those research and development programmes and demonstrators. We sit alongside in the Maritime Environment team in the UK's Department for Transport. We work alongside the Maritime Decarbonisation policy teams. So the policy teams have published last year the Maritime Decarbonisation Strategy, and we're working alongside those to understand what the roadmap for UK maritime decarbonisation looks like. In particular, one of the key aims for UK Shore is to ensure that the research and development of decarbonisation technologies progresses in step with any regulatory changes, with any changes to incentives within both UK maritime and global maritime. The UK Shore programme has been on a bit of a journey. So in our first ever project was in 2021, was a solitary £20 million pound competition that was CMDC1, so Clean Maritime Demonstration Competition Round 1. The success of that competition then allowed us to bid for the next spending review, and in doing so, we were able to massively ramp up the scope of our support and run another 11 competitions and interventions across the last 5 years. So 2021 to 2026 was over 250 million worth of R&D grant support provided. And I'm chuffed to say that momentum has only kept growing. So with the fantastic real world innovations that were demonstrated across the last 5 years, has meant that we've managed to secure now and announced since this September, just gone, an additional 448 million of support for clean maritime research and development. You'll have hopefully seen, and we'll talk to you today, the launch of the Clean Maritime Demonstration Competition Round 7, CMDC Round 7, and the Zero Emission Vessel and Infrastructure Round 2 that we launched in March and will be closing either side of summer. Those between them make up over 270 million worth of support. That's 270 million of the 448 million. So there's more to come as well. And I love working in this area. One, because I love seeing the innovation that goes on. I love seeing the ideas that come from brilliant minds and then manage to step up through the technology readiness levels and up towards market and commercialization. But also on a personal level, Josh and I are both from Hull and East Yorkshire originally, by chance, and I've seen the impact of the loss of the maritime sector in Hull and where we're from, and I've seen the impact that decarbonisation technology and the economic opportunities that it's brought, the way it's starting to transform that area again in the area we live in and grew up in. So I'm really passionate about the innovation that these funds can help deliver. But also, in addition to that, I'm really passionate about making sure that we're making the most of this grant funding support across the UK in all 12 regions and nations of the UK. So, without any further ado, I'll hand over to Josh to tell you a little bit more about our programme.
Thanks, Ian. So if you mind just skipping forward 2 slides. Just by way of introduction, Josh and Brian and I work with Ian on the UK Shore programme. I'm not sure. Just for some context, I spent a lot of my childhood in Hull. I'm actually from down south. I live in Hull currently, so I'm sort of honorary northerner. So what is UK Shore? Enough about me. What is UK Shore? So UK Shore, the UK Shipping Office for Reducing Emissions, it's the Public Transport Programme driving forward clean maritime research and development since 2021, as Ian said. This is an R&D fund primarily. And the reason why we have this is by funding the research and the real world demonstrations. I mean, we see some of the images here of some of the former projects that we funded. The GT Wings one, I put that in there because I actually could see it outside my apartment window in Hull. You're really great when you could see it. And really, it's about driving forward those cutting edge clean maritime technologies. It helps industry overcome investment barriers and accelerate rollout. We've had some great news stories recently of some of our former UK Shore projects making their first sales, which is fantastic. And really, we want to sort of cement the UK as a leader in maritime innovation. Next slide, please. So, why are we doing this? What are we trying to solve? So, the chart on the diagram on the right-hand side of your screen, it should be, shows the UK domestic tank-to-wake emissions for transport, excluding road. So maritime makes up roughly about 5.5% of all GHG emissions generated domestically. This is more than domestic aviation, rail, and buses combined. It's quite a significant amount of our domestic transport emissions. It's also quite a hard to abate sector. There are very many different vessel types, I'm sure you're all very aware, and they all require tailored solutions. What might work for ferries, so like an electric ferry, might not work for fishing. What might work for fishing might not work for workboats. They all require sort of tailor-made solutions, all different vessel types, and so they all need different solutions. Many of these technologies remain quite immature, or they need optimization, particularly around the commercials, and so there's quite a bit of uncertainty around what the best fit might be for each vessel. And then the other thing as well, which is why we're doing this now, is a lot of vessels, they have like a 25+ year lifespan. So early R&D now is really vital for us to be able to meet our targets. Regulation alone won't meet it. That's fine. That's perfect time to move the slide, actually. So if you could get the next slide, please. Thank you. So this all fits in with our wider maritime decarbonisation strategy, which is our domestic UK policy, and also the international policy and frameworks, it's the IMO, ETS, etc. And UK Shore kind of sits as a bridge between it. Next slide, please. So we published our maritime decarbonisation strategy last year, published just over a year ago, actually. And this this strategy lays out like the pathway in for how we see the sector decarbonising before 2050 and reaching zero emissions by 2050. We set out several indicative goals. So 30% reduction in GHG emissions by 2030, 80% by 2040, and then zero emissions by 2050. And there's several steps along the way where we see the regulations coming in. But again, the UK Shore programme is there to really kickstart and is absolutely is a key principle for how we see the sector decarbonising. Next slide, please. So we mentioned, obviously, been around since 2021. Obviously, I don't think UK Shore didn't really exist until 2022, but obviously the first competition was in 21. We've launched 12 competitions since then, leveraged £120 million in private investment, allocated over 260 million projects, 260 million to over 200 projects, supported over 500 organisations, including 250 SMEs. Funding provided to all 12 regions and nations of the UK. If I remember right, Scotland has done extremely well out of UK Shore projects. I really would like to see Scotland again do exceptionally well in the next rounds of funding. I was up in Scotland last year, actually. I saw several projects in Port of Leith with there was a hydrogen shore power demonstrator, and then the shore power units in Aberdeen as well. I think Bibby Marine's shore powers. So you've already seen some of that real world examples of how UK Shore funding has actually helped to decarbonise parts of the sector and make real strides into improving not just our GHG reductions, but also improve the air quality as well. And obviously these projects fit into the 700 supports jobs as well, 750 jobs so far. So we've had a real impact so far, and we hope to really continue and strengthen the impact as we go forward. Next slide, please. So what comes next? Really exciting future. 448 million. So that's significantly more than what we had between 21 to last year. So we've got this is up till 2030. Ian mentioned the two schemes that we've launched, CMDC7, with 121 million for that at the beginning of March, and 150 million for ZEVI2, which launched at the end of last month. And we've been going around telling the good word about these two programs, and obviously we're here today, but we've got further events in the future as well. There's a slide at the end of my slides where there's information on other events if you're able to go to. So thank you. Next slide, please. So this slide is just to give you a bit of an overview of like the whole program and how it sits along what we call the technology readiness scale or TRL scale, and really we see UK Shore supporting projects right across the scale. Whether it's through the Clean Maritime Research Hub, our TRIG program, CMDC and ZEVI, which is obviously the main two we're talking about today, which are the mid to late TRL scales, on the TRL scale. And we are also exploring further options as well. So whether that's looking at international collaboration through the EU's Horizon and Europe program or the Eureka program. And indeed, obviously, I know we keep getting questions around commercialisation of scale up. We are also working right across government and the financial sector to support the scale up commercialisation of this as well. Next slide, please. So just a bit of a help. Obviously, Innovate UK are our main delivery body for this, so they'll be going through in their own slides. But do contact them if you have any competition specific questions. The competition page is obviously there as well, and got obviously much more funding to come. Hoping to have a CMDC8. You launch sometime next year, and indeed a CMDC9 as well. So this isn't the only opportunity for funding. There is more to come. Next slide, please. And that was the end of my slides. So thank you very much.
Brilliant, thanks both. Lots and lots of money. Is that 440? I know I said we wouldn't ask any questions until the very end, but just a question. £448 million is from here up to 2030?
That's correct.
Excellent. Okay, and that will cover the CMDC 8 and 9, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Obviously, you'll be staying on. If there's any questions, we'll take them at the end. We're going to move on to Innovate UK now, and James Lovett. James.
Afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Yeah, you got me for a little bit rambling through the competition scope and detail. So bear with as I go through a bit of detail, but you'll be glad to know if any of you were in London last week, I'm not going to go into such detail as I did then. The idea of this particular presentation for me is just to give you an understanding of what these competitions are about that Josh and Ian have just been talking about, and how you might be able to enter them, and the kind of ideas we're looking for within the funding competitions as well. So I'm James. I'm from Innovate UK. We are the delivery partner for CMDC round 7 and ZEVI 2, which basically means DFT have the money, Innovate UK organise the delivery of that money to industry. So we get involved with the scoping, assessment, and actual delivery of the projects as well. With the monitoring of the delivery. Next slide, please. So if you're not familiar with Innovate UK, we are the UK's innovation agency, is how we like to term ourselves. We're actually a part of government through UKRI, UK Research and Innovation, which is a non-departmental public body sponsored by DSIT. So it's part of Science, Innovation and Technology. Innovate UK, on the diagram there, you can see we sit among a load of different bodies under UKRI. We're the purple one, whereas a lot of the other bodies focus on academic research, pure academic research. Innovate UK has a lot to do with the business-led research side of the UK. So a lot of what we do involves businesses, and we're particularly keen on seeing businesses come into the support that we have available. Next slide, please. So if you are a business and you're interested in innovating, my question is always, why aren't you innovating? Why aren't you doing R&D? Because we have a load of stats from across all the projects we've supported under Innovate UK, which numbers thousands and thousands. So I'm here to talk to you today about maritime, but there's a version of me for pretty much any tech sector where there's a bit of R&D support that's needed. And across the thousands of projects across the UK's technology sector, we have a load of stats which indicate that for every £1 invested, you get £3.60 back. So if you're putting money into R&D as a business, you get £3.60 back for every £1 you spend. Number two, a typical business supported by us at Innovate UK raises 30% more money from the private sector than similar businesses, and that's since about 2007. We've been tracking that. And we found that for every £1 invested by buy an R&D project, we get about £6.20 back for the UK economy. So again, I raise the question: if you're not innovating, if you're not looking at R&D for business, and maritime is no different here. If you're a maritime business looking to do R&D, these are the stats that say you should be doing it, and so therefore, why aren't you? Next slide, please. Right, a couple of key points then about the funds. So CMDC round 7 and ZEVI round 2, just to expand those acronyms again. That's the Clean Maritime Demonstration Competition, CMDC, and the Zero Emissions Vessels and Infrastructure competition, so ZEVI. We, as I say, are a key delivery body for UK Shore, and that we delivering these two competitions. The funding itself, which totals 271 million for these two competitions, is from DFT, from my colleagues Ian and Josh, and we're working in partnership with them. So the money's from the DFT. You'll probably see Innovate UK branding and purple things over a lot of what we do, and that's purely because we're doing the organisation of the funding. Next slide, please. Right, a couple of high-level aims of the competition. Now, this slide's about CMDC round 7, so one of the two. I've got another slide looking at ZEVI 2 on the next one. But this is about, all these competitions are about, as the name implies, clean maritime. We're looking at projects that are looking to decarbonise and have a positive impact from the maritime sector. And for this particular competition, CMDC round 7, there's £121 million available for different sorts of R&D projects. And the projects that we're looking at range from feasibility studies, so mainly desk-based technical and economic research, through to full deployment trials, where you're actually taking your technology into your maritime environment, in the port, at sea, wherever it may be, and testing it for a period of time. And we also have everything in between that, basically. So everything you come into this competition with has to be focused on clean maritime, and it has to be focused on working towards a demonstration, whether you're just at feasibility stage or you're actually doing the demonstration itself. Next slide, please. So ZEVI 2, this slide is subtly different. This competition is investing up to 150 million, and it's looking to do one sort of maturity level of technology, which is the higher side, the higher maturity level, which is looking at developing, deploying, and operating innovative clean maritime solutions. And that's for a period of 3 years in a real world environment. You'll see that we're funding a lot of things under these competitions, from the early stage research, you're just looking at testing things through a paper-based exercise, through to the full-on 3-year demonstration of clean maritime R&D projects. It's very important, as I sort of go through the next few slides, that you kind of, if you're interested in doing R&D, you kind of have a look at where you are in your R&D journey. A lot of you may be at the very start. A lot of you may have already developed technology that you want to test and bring forward into its maturity levels that are higher. There's competition for you. Just make sure you get it at the right place is what I suggest. And all through this presentation and all through my briefings you'll see elsewhere, I'll be telling you to come to us with your ideas, to check you're pitching it at the right area. So yeah, vitally important you clear that up. I'm here to help. My team are here to help you understand the competitions, because we realise they are complex. So if you take one thing away from that, just know that Innovate UK are quite happy to look through your ideas and give you a steer about where they should be. Next slide, please. So what do we mean by clean maritime? So we've talked about a lot of funding, we've talked about a lot of competitions, but what are they actually to do? So Josh and Ian have talked through the idea behind UK Shore, what it's there for, what the strategy, the maritime decarbonisation strategy is trying to do. If you read through that strategy document, you'll see that there are a number of themes that correlate quite well with the competitions we've got coming out, not unexpectedly perhaps. And the themes on the screen are not the gospel, I should add. So that is found in our official competition briefing on IFS, and after my presentation I'll put those links in the chat. This is just to give you an indication of the kinds of technology we mean by clean maritime. So we have vessel technology, top left there. And when we look at the key areas of a vessel clean maritime R&D, we're looking at things like low, zero, or near zero greenhouse gas emission fuels, both within internal combustion engines or within fuel cells. We're looking at retrofit technologies to existing vessels. As Josh mentioned, some of these vessels have a long lifetime, and therefore it's fully expecting some of those vessels to be able to be retrofitted with clean maritime technology. We're looking at battery electric vessels with a high level of innovation. So those projects are looking to electrify their fleet only with battery technology, and doing that in a way that builds upon existing technology. We're looking at wind propulsion technology as an example of some alternative means of propulsion. We're looking at energy efficiency technology, and we're looking at energy enabling technologies and connections to infrastructure. Those are kind of the ideas of vessel technologies we're looking at. So if you have a vessel, you're looking to upgrade it, these are the types of things we're looking at for clean maritime. For infrastructure, what I mean by infrastructure is technologies are based within ports, harbours, and offshore installations. These are technologies for enabling zero, near zero, low zero carbon emission vessels. And we're talking about things like charging and fueling infrastructure, talking about things like shore power, which are basically power to provide to a vessel to enable it to turn off its main diesels when it comes into port. And we're looking at localized energy generation projects for vessel use. So basically, an energy generation project that provides power to a vessel to enable it to decarbonize. On the right-hand side, we have a couple of other areas we're quite interested in. So smart shipping for greenhouse gas emission reduction. So this is digital software-based technologies that are focused on the decarbonisation piece. It can involve anything that involves data, AI, autonomy, connectivity, position, navigation, and timing, quantum, even sensing and monitoring, digital twins, all that kind of stuff. As long as it's tailored towards a decarbonisation end goal, that's what we're looking for within CMDC in particular. Training and skills projects as well make an appearance in CMDC. So these are projects that are looking at the skills and the vocational requirements to actually bring some of this decarbonisation technology to fruition, recognising that a lot of it hinges upon the skills of the workforce. And we know that in the UK, a lot of those can be few and far between. So we're looking at clean maritime, smart shipping, vocational and infrastructure projects that are associated with training and skills, mainly from a feasibility stage at this point, but obviously with views to upscale at a later date from projects if you can do that. Next slide, please. So, as I say, before I jump into this slide, we have an official briefing online. So this is a full page where we're going to the full detail of the competition, which gets quite long and complex. It needs to be because of the amount of money we're proposing to put into the sector. But if you take another thing away from this presentation, it's that we have what we call strands within a competition. So within CMDC round 7, we have 3 strands, and these are basically areas where we want to fund a certain type of project. And within CMDC7, those types of projects are split by the technology maturity level we're anticipating, the activity within that project. So strand 1 is all focused on the demonstration projects, those that are taking their technology into a real world environment. And that is quite a specific meaning, real world environment. It's basically you're demonstrating your technology in the environment your commercial end use case is going to be operating. So for example, if you are upgrading a seagoing vessel with clean maritime technology, say you're putting a hydrogen engine on board a seagoing vessel, the demonstration within a strand 1 project has to be at sea. In strand 2, we're focusing on projects that are doing a lot of testing. If you're a hardware type project, that's a lot of physical testing, but aren't taking it to that very end real world use case. So for example, for a vessel project, you may be looking to upgrade your powertrain system, but you're not quite ready to actually put it on the water. So you're just looking at factory testing, you're just looking at lab testing of that powertrain, perhaps putting on a dynamo, something that tests the feasibility of that technology, but actually sees the output from a hardware solution. That's the strand for you. Strand 2 is called pre-deployment trials. And that's, as the name implies, before you actually deploy it in a real world environment. And then strand 3, as I mentioned earlier, this is for the earlier stage research, those looking at technical, economic, desk-based feasibility studies. So if you're just starting out in your R&D journey as a business and looking at maritime, then perhaps this could be the strand for you. Now, in bold on this slide is a warning, but it's a warning that if you do the right thing, you shouldn't have to worry too much about. The warning is that if you put your project into the wrong strand, so when you click apply on the IFS page, you're applying to a specific strand. Make sure you're applying to the right one. If you go into the wrong one, your application will be marked ineligible and not sent for assessment. So that basically means if you put hundreds of hours into an application and you get it into the wrong strand, unfortunately, no assessors will actually see that application because we'll have to mark it out ineligible right at the start. Now, the reason I'm giving you this warning and the reason why it's easy to avoid is because, as I say, we are here to talk about it. So if you're unsure which strand to apply to, please email us at support@iuk.ukri.org. That is the email address for any query from Innovate UK. But if you title it CMDC7 application, whatever, it will find its way through to me and my team, and we will give you the direct steer about which strand you should be in, provided you've given us enough information about what we're doing in the project, of course. So that is the very, very simple way of avoiding this pitfall and making sure you get it into the right strand. Next slide, please. ZEVI 2, so the second of our competitions, the higher TRL competition, if you want to think of it like that, is split into 3 strands as well. And if you remember, the 3 strands are to get a certain type of project kind of earmarked. This time, we're not splitting by, as we did in CMDC7, the technology maturity levels, so feasibility study to deployment to actually demonstration stuff. This time, they're all at the same maturity level, so they're all doing big demonstrations, but this time we're splitting between the technology areas themselves. So for strand 1, we're looking for projects that combine vessels and infrastructure within one project, and those need to be focused on what we call alternative fuels, which has a specific meaning, so do look at the competition briefing about that. The alternative fuels projects are what we're looking for in strand 1. In strand 2, we're looking at those projects that are focusing on electric and power. So electric power is the name of that strand. And these can be 100% battery electric vessels and the corresponding charging infrastructure. They have to both be in one project. And also shore power technologies come into this strand as well. So this includes technologies, infrastructure technologies, and vessel technologies that enable shore power within a port or harbour environment. And those particular projects do pay attention to some of the text we have around shore power within the competition brief, because we have a lot of words focusing on the commercial viability and the novelness and the innovativeness of shore power technology. So do pay attention to that. And strand 3 projects are focused on what we call energy efficiency, which is a new strand. If any of you are familiar with ZEVI 1, we didn't have a dedicated strand to this type of technology. In ZEVI 2, we do. Within the competition scope, we have a load of technology themes about what we mean by energy efficiency. Some of those technologies fit the definition of energy efficiency better than others, but we do have a definition of energy efficiency and a definition of what we deem energy efficiency for the purposes of this particular competition. Again, I'll mention it briefly. If you apply into the wrong strand, you will be marked ineligible. So it's vitally important that you get your ideas to us at support@iuk.ukri.org to ensure we give you the steer to the correct strand. So say ZEVI 2 projects really on the big demonstrations, and these projects have a 3-year demonstration requirement. So we'll be funding the build and you'll be funding the operation of your technology for 3 years. Next slide, please. As I say, all this details on the competition page. I'm not giving you the full briefing today, but there's some key things to be aware of within the competitions. So if you're applying to CMDC7, the different strands that I've just talked about have different project costs and different durations. So if you're going for strand 1, you're putting your technology into the real world environment. Your project can cost between 3 million and 15 million pounds. And that is project costs. So that's the total project cost. We will be funding a proportion of that project cost, not the full project cost. So it's not 100% funded. It's what we call match funded. If you're an SME, if you're a small or micro enterprise, then you will be able to get up to 70% of your costs funded, generally. If you're a medium, you can get 60%, and if you're large, you can get 50%. But there is an element of match funding, so there has to be some private investment coming from somewhere to fund the other bit of your costs. Your project under strand 1 can last up to 2 years and 9 months. So therefore, it must end by the 31st of December 2029, and all projects we're expecting to start on the 1st of April 2027. Just bear that in mind, that is the funding. That's when the funding's available in between those two dates, 1st of April 27, 31st of December 2029. We can't fund beyond the project end date, so make sure your plans are realistic and have a lot of good risk management in them. On strand 2, which is the pre-deployment strand of CMDC7, the costs are different. So there's a smaller, not going quite to the real world environment projects, and the costs are representative of it. They're also shorter. So the costs within this strand are between 750,000 and 6 million pounds. And these projects can last up to 12 months, again beginning on the 1st of April, which means they have to end by the 31st of March 2028. And strand 3, which is feasibility strand, these are projects that are mainly the desk-based feasibility studies, technical economic feasibility studies. And they have project costs ranging from 100k to 1 million, again lasting up to 12 months. So it's vitally important you get your projects costed right. If you fall outside those boundaries, you will be made ineligible. If you get the project durations wrong, you're probably going to be made ineligible. Just make sure you get that stuff right. That's the absolute key basic detail. On ZEVI 2, which is looking at the much bigger projects, we're looking at, for all 3 strands of that competition, projects that cost between 6 million and 60 million. Again, those projects are going to start on the 1st of April 2027. And the total project duration, slightly different from CMDC7. We can fund you for up to 2 years and 9 months. And then you have to do a 3-year demonstration unfunded. So I mentioned this 3-year demonstration a couple of times. That has to be done at your own cost. We will fund the build, development. You have to fund the actual operation, which means your total length of your ZEVI 2 projects is 5 years and 9 months, just under 6 years. So you can kind of see the scale of the differences between CMC and ZEVI. There's a note on ZEVI 2 costs, which I'll say in a minute. It's important because we recognise these are big capital projects, and therefore we have different funding rates for all businesses, but I'll mention that in a minute. Next slide, please. On the right-hand side of this slide is the competition page, an example of the competition page when you go on to the Innovation Funding Service website. So if you Google CMDC round 7, I don't quite know if Google's updated enough yet to pick up this recent competition. You might get previous rounds of CMDC. At any rate, if you go to Innovation Funding Service, Google that, then you can search for CMDC7. This is the page you'll get on the right-hand side of the slide. And that has all the detail you could possibly want about the competition. You can click through the tabs just to see kind of what we ask you and what we require of your projects. But I'm going to give you a quick eligibility here. So to lead any project under CMDC or ZEVI 2, you have to be a UK registered business. It can be a UK registered business of any size, but you have to be a business. And what I mean by that is no other types of organisations can lead a project. So that means academics, public sector organisations, RTOs, not-for-profits, charities. You can't lead projects, but you can collaborate. So all the projects that come under CMDC round 7 and ZEVI 2 have to be collaborative projects, which means you have to have more than one grant claiming organisation as part of the project. To collaborate with the lead, you can be any of those organisations I just said that can't lead, but you can also be a business. So to collaborate, your organisation must be a business of any size, an academic institution, a charity, a not-for-profit, public sector organisation, or an RTO. For ZEVI 2, so this covers all competitions, but there's a third bullet on the slide there which says for ZEVI 2 only. There are a couple of extra eligibility points about your consortia makeup, which means that you must be collaborating with or be a UK vessel organisation and an infrastructure organisation. So there's an extra level of detail you have to have under your ZEVI projects. Don't worry too much about that for now. Just have a look at the detail on IFS, which will give you it all, and come to us if you're unsure. Next slide, please. On the ZEVI 2 costs and grant rates, this is a note that I've mentioned before. So as I said, ZEVI 2 projects must have eligible costs between 6 million and 60 million. And back on that slide, you would have seen that you have to claim all grant funding by the 31st of December 2029. And before I go on to that third bullet, have a look at the thing at the bottom that says ZEVI 2 can fund capital costs for all size businesses up to 80%. So that is the costs that you're putting into the project to purchase capital equipment, other capitalized costs. Those costs can be funded up to 80% for any size business. And this is truly the separation between ZEVI 2 and CMDC7. And perhaps, the benefit of going for ZEVI 2 over CMDC7, even with the extra stuff you have to put in place. Just a couple of notes on that, though. So, due to subsidy rules, you can only have a maximum grant within any project of 30 million. So, a grant funding request for your total project can't be any more than 30 million. So, if you're doing a £60 million project, your intervention rate can actually only be up to 50% because you can't go above that 30 million. And for any single organisation within a ZEVI project, no more than £20 million can be allocated to you. So if you had a 2-organisation project, for interest of simplicity, and we're expecting a lot more than that, of course, but for if you had 2 partners in a £60 million project, none of them could claim more than 20 million each. So it'd be a maximum 20 million on one, and therefore if you had 30 million total grant request, 10 million for the other. Again, don't worry too much about that for now, but just make sure you check all that detail before you submit your application. And as I say, we're quite willing to check through those ideas. Next slide, please. Some key dates for you. Again, these are all on the IFS page. Both competitions are now open, so you can see all the detail you could possibly want. We've had both briefings now as well. So in fact, my 15th of April on the right-hand side there needs to be updated to say that you can have a look at the briefing slides online. So on the left, actually. Have a look at those. I was in London last week. I was online in CMDC last month to basically run through the entire project detail. Competition detail. You think I've been talking a lot now, just wait until you watch those. It's vitally important you do familiarise yourself with the competition detail. So have a look at those briefing events. Now, the key dates, I guess, for imminent reasons are that we have the close dates of the competitions coming up. So we have on the 15th of July, which is just under 3 months now, the close of CMDC round 7 at 11 AM on the 15th of July. No applications can be put in past that date. So that's your key deadline. I suggest you probably set your own artificial deadline internally within your consortium, maybe a week before, so you don't have to submit it on the deadline itself. The 16th of December is the closing date for ZEVI 2. So again, 11 AM on the 16th of December, that is when we're closing the applications. You might want to think about submitting earlier than that, though. In both, the rest of the dates there go through what we do after the competition closes, which is interviews, assessment, all that kind of stuff. Then you'll be notified on 27th of October for CMDC7 and 4th of January for ZEVI2. And we're starting all projects on the 1st of April 2027.
James, can
Next slide,
I just clarify? I think you said the 16th of December there. The slide is 16th of September. Is it
Sorry,
16th?
yeah, completely misspoke. Sorry, thank you for catching that. 16th of September. 16th of September 2026 is the close date for ZEVI2. Sorry about that. Thank you, Brian. And all projects start 1st of April. So next slide, please. Right, let's give you a bit of colour after a lot of words. So these projects, Josh put a couple on his slides. They are all demonstration projects that have been and gone, have done their thing, or are still in operation. They're still yet to come. From a Scottish point of view, Port of Aberdeen is the top left one there, have put in a shore power system under ZEVI 1 to give you an idea of the type of project that has been funded previously. So if any of you have been Port of Aberdeen recently, you may have seen that these big connection points are in operation and have been tested with some of the vessel traffic that's moving in and out of Port of Aberdeen. And when you stand next to one of the PSVs that comes in and they plug in and turn off their main diesels, you will see just the difference it makes to the surrounding environment, not least the noise that cuts out once the engines go off. And so the rumble that's happening all over Aberdeen is starting to be cut down a little bit. More to the point, those types of technologies are looking to decarbonise and improve local air quality from the technology. So that is a great example of a kind of project we can fund under current competitions. In the middle there is a company called Aqua Ocean. They are Southwest based, and they have done a pretty ambitious CMDC round 3 project. So again, a demonstration project, which is looking at autonomy and hydrogen combined. And we're really quite excited about the hydrogen element of that project. It's a clean fuel, if you can get the sourcing right, and they're operating it autonomously as well. The key thing is that is on the water, that has been on the water, that has been independently approved for a period by Lloyd's Register. It's a type of project you can get through. On the top right there is the Uber boat by Thames Clippers vessel that goes between Canary Wharf and Rotherhithe. Used to be a tiny little thing, diesel burning vessel, inland waterway vessel. It's now a fully electric solution with an auto mooring system coming online soon. If any one of you are down in London, in Canary Wharf area, I do recommend you go and take a look and see what it's doing. It's fully electric and a really good example of a demonstration that we like in these competitions. Bottom right is a company called Aqua Superpower. They operate charging infrastructure, develop charging infrastructure for maritime, and they've got their charging infrastructure funded through a few of our funds. A good example of an infrastructure technology. It's not just a vessel technology there. Bottom right, second from right, is the one that Josh presented on his slide, which is GT Wings is the developer. They make wing sails for vessels. They've demonstrated under Clean Maritime Demonstration Round 4, their technology being put on a vessel which is doing transatlantic routes. And we have another good project focused on that, and I think we have someone in the room, Ian, who is from Smart Green Shipping, who have also managed to put their technology on board a vessel which has been doing real work at seas and getting all the data from that. So these types of projects, the wind propulsion projects, are definitely within scope and having really good success under these competitions. We have Prince Madog 2, which is the second from bottom left, the propeller. That is a technology project led by OS Energy, and they've been looking at propeller upgrades as well as a hydrogen retrofit on the Prince Madog 2. Another good example of alternative fuels and also energy efficiency technology. So they're looking to improve the propeller of a vessel. That's the type of research we like to see done under these competitions. And the bottom left there is a render so far of the ESOV, which is being developed by Bibby Marine. So this is a really, really ambitious project looking to fully electrify a vessel or enable it to run on fully electric solution with some methanol on board as well. Really good example of some of the bigger projects that we see coming through ZEVI. So hopefully these projects on the screen give you an idea of what is coming in terms of demonstration. So say these are all demonstration projects. We do fund from feasibility studies. So if you're just starting on your journey, you're trying to get to this stage on the screen, do have a look at the feasibility stage, because that could give you funding to direct your efforts and make decisions. Right, next slide, please. I think that's probably it. I'm probably gone way over my time, Brian. I always take a bit longer than I expect on this. But any questions on any of this? I'm happy to take a few now, and I notice this I'm going to the chat. But the main point is get all your ideas to us at support@iuk.ukri.org if you're in any way uncertain about where it should be pitched and where it should go. I can give you scope advice. I can give you scope checks, which means that I can tell you whether it's going to be in scope or what you need to do to bring it in scope, which is probably where the advice comes. What I can't give you is actual application advice of what makes a good project. So all our projects, all our applications are independently assessed, which means that I don't assess them or score them in any way. It's the independent assessors, the experts from industry, that will be scoring your applications. So any questions, come to me through that support line. I'll take a few now. Thank you for listening to a very intense briefing, and looking forward to your applications. Thanks, Brian.
Excellent, James. Thanks very much. And that was the shorter version, you're saying.
That's the shorter version.
Lots of information in there. Especially liked the successful projects, given that we were there at the start of all of this when people were just going out putting their ideas in. So it's great to see a lot of these things come through to fruition, and it can be done, as they say. There's links that have been put into the chat, which we will include on our website, and we'll also include your slides. We'll include the whole slide deck on our website as well. Now there are a number of questions there. I think what we'll do is we'll jump forward to Simon Buckley from Innovate UK Business Connect, who's going to do his presentation, and then we'll go through all of the questions at the end, if that's all right. And then that way we can cover everything, and it also means it's a good spot for people to go to in the recording instead of dotting about. So Simon.
Thank you very much, Brian. So yeah, I'm Simon. I look after zero emission mobility at Innovate UK Business Connect. And maybe to join up the jigsaw puzzle, we can have a look at your applications. So we're here to kind of help you submit high quality applications into the competition. Obviously, we work very closely with Innovate UK, and we can also help very much with getting you additional partners as well to make your bid that bit stronger. What I generally say to people as well is the sooner we know about your idea and what you're trying to do, the better feedback we can give you, and also we can help you find those key partners to make your bid that stronger, whichever the strands or competitions you're planning on applying to. I think also the great thing about this competition is the amount of time you have to put your proposal together. So we're expecting some really high quality, really good proposals. So if you can go next slide, please. As part of that, to generate interest around the UK, we have been doing a little roadshow of DFT, Innovate UK and us, where we've been getting out to different regions. We've got a number of events left. So we've got one in Liverpool tomorrow, for instance, and that's in person. So if people want to go down to that and do some live networking as well, obviously you're very welcome. And then we've got some in Tees coming up as well, which is it's not so far away, which again you'd be welcome to come down to. And next slide, please. And then again, finally, one in Humber as well, which I'll be at. So if you haven't, I'm sure some of you have made it to those events, but if not, you're here online, and we do have online match making available for the competition as well. So if you go next slide, please. So as well as the individual advice that we can give, so that's me, Peter, Holland, and other members of the team to build that really strong consortia. We've also got a beta match for this. So we've got a QR code there. What you would like you to do is create your profile on there and identify what you're trying to get out of it. And that's another way you can find those partners. And as I said, I do think this will be a very competitive process. We're expecting a lot of applications, a lot of high quality applications. So making sure you have the right consortia and the right skills to deliver these complex projects. And that maybe, you know, some of those successful projects that James just went through, delivering that kind of caliber of project, you need to make sure you have the right partners. So please register on Beta Match. Please reach out to me, and I'll put my email in the chat as well after this, and or Peter Holland. And we're happy to schedule a one-on-one call with you about your project, what you're trying to do, and how we can help you. And then when it comes to that application stage, as I said, the greater notice we have of that application, the better. We're happy to give that a quick review before you submit and provide some feedback, which obviously doesn't guarantee you success, but will hopefully help you. So thanks very much for your time, and I think that's on back to you, Brian, for questions.
Okay, thanks, Simon. If you could stay on, and Ian, Joshua, and James, if you could maybe put your cameras back on and come on, and if anybody's got any questions with their, just put their hand up. But we'll start by going through the ones that are there. It's given you enough time, James, to have a think about what the responses are. I think there's a couple that are directed just to you specifically. First one, would deploying hydropower turbines to generate electricity with ship's motion be part of scope as part of vessels, no fuel, just using the water?
Generally looks like it would be in scope, so I'd probably consider that a energy efficiency project. Have a look at those types of projects, but yeah, what we're looking for under energy efficiency is those projects that reduce the energy and carbon emissions reduce the energy of a vessel operation and carbon emissions of a vessel operation as well. If you have a technology that can generate electricity to enable energy efficiency, that looks like it should be in scope. But just bear in mind that it would have to be completely associated with the vessel rather than just a general tidal or wave power renewable energy generation technology. We're looking at vessel decarbonisation here, not general renewable energy projects.
Okay, hopefully that answers the question. If there's any follow-up to that, just please put your hand up on it. And there's a second one that's directed at yourself there, James, which is ZEVI 2, having UK flag vessels is clear. Is it okay to partner with an EU shipping company but has a UK registration for CMDC7?
Some complexities there, and I'm going to have to make some assumptions. So it's okay to partner with a EU shipping company. So you can partner with a non-UK organisation. They can't claim any grant funding unless they use a UK registration, their UK registered business. But just do pay attention in the briefing. We do go into what we mean by UK registered business, and some company numbers aren't eligible for funding. Other than that, in terms of eligibility, just bear in mind this is UK public money. And we need to see how it benefits the UK. I'm conscious that, you know, a lot of the technology may have to be put on non-UK vessels, but you can only do that if you have justification for doing it, which is not just cost and not just convenience. You have to show why the benefit to the UK is as it is, and also perhaps which UK ships you approach and UK shipping operations you approach which actually own vessels. So yeah, I guess the short answer is it could be eligible if you get it right, and come into me with your setup if you're not sure at all, but just pay attention to that value for UK money argument.
Okay, thanks, James. Couple of questions from Ian Haw. Can a company receive ZEVI 2 grant support if it already has a growth catalyst investor partnership project running?
Good question. First pass is that as long as you're doing a different project, that's what's been funded under the Investor Partnerships Programme, then you should be eligible for funding. I'd suggest, Ian, come to me with exactly what that project is trying to do and what your new project idea is trying to do, and then we can see if there's any conflict there.
Okay, and a second question from Ian. In a ZEVI project, if we reasonably capitalise equipment that we put on a ship and retain ownership of, that means we can claim 80% of the cost. Do we potentially receive capital cost times 80% times the application grant percentage, or do we potentially receive capital cost times 80%?
Now you're getting into the niceties of capital cost funding. So you could do either. Just pay attention to value for money is the main thing. So you're going to have to justify any capital cost that you put in there and the percentage you're looking to get funded of that capital cost. In fact, in the last question of the application, which is on costs, we ask you to fully justify why you're going over, say, 50% funded intervention rate. Now, what you're getting at there, I think, is probably to do with capital usage. Do we fund just the capital usage costs, or can we fund the entire capital cost? We can fund the entire capital cost if your technology or your capital asset still has value at the end of the project. We may audit that, and we may look to reclaim grant if, for example, you've sold your massive capital asset and got a huge amount of cash on your balance sheet because of the grant funding that you received. What we'd expect from any capital asset to be being funded is for that to be retained by the business that developed it, and for the exploitation of that technology. So for demonstration of the technology afterwards. We're conscious that, we can't expect it just to be on a capital usage basis all the time. And that's usually the case under our usual R&D costs. So these capital costs are a bit different in that respect. Just be very careful about how much value you have in your asset at the end and what you're doing with it, because any with a sale or a huge amount of profit being made off that asset, we will take notice, just for information. Good question though, Ian. Yours are getting more and more detailed every time you ask. Thank you.
Yep, and Ian's responded very helpful, so I think that answers the question. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm looking round. There is no further questions in the chat. I'm looking round. Yep, Simon has put his hand up.
Yeah,
So,
hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah, can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, great. Yeah, it was a project a bit like the ZEVI ESOV project. I was just wanting to ask, that looked like a hybrid sort of electric methanol propulsion system. So which category would that fit into? And I'm also noting if for a project like that going in the future, that's maybe got a hybrid propulsion system, because there does seem to be an exclusion about we only look at 100% battery electric vessels, and hybrids are not included. So would that type of vessel no longer be eligible, or am I misunderstanding something? Thanks.
So, yeah, no, it's a good question. Yeah, we recognise there's going to be a few blurred lines projects here. Now, what I suggest is looking at the pure focus of the project. Now, for just to reiterate, ZEVI 1 is not the same as ZEVI 2. There are some key differences here. So we can't make eligibility decisions or scope decisions based on the ZEVI 1 scope. Under that, the BIBI vessel is intended to be operated on 100% electric, so it can operate on 100% electric. That's what they're going for. The methanol was kind of there, recognizing that it was may not be able to be able to operate at a fully 100% electric to begin with. So for that reason, that was in what we call the electric strand of ZEVI 1, because the intention was to operate 100% electric. For this, if you had the exact same vessel coming in again, I would probably look to, because the intention is 100% electric, I'd probably look at that being a strand 2 project, which is the electric strand. Now, the exclusion about the hybrid vessels is hybrid with fossil fuels. So if you had 100% electric with hybrid of methanol and green methanol, you'd be within scope. What we're not looking for is just a normal diesel electric vessel which has some batteries on board, just to try and get it past, because that's just not an innovative technology anymore. So many vessels operating diesel electric propulsion and with batteries on board. So we're really looking to push beyond that and do the 100% electric. If you have to have an internal combustion engine on board, we'd expect that to be alternative fuel powered. But because the focus is on the battery operation, and that's the intention for that vessel, that would be a strand 2 project.
Okay, that's clear. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for the question, Simon. Any further follow-up questions, Simon, or is there anybody else? Put your hand up, please.
I'll maybe have another question, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
Just advice on, the ZEVI 2 in particular is about developing and building new vessels. So that gets into quite complicated sort of procurement timelines and decision making, and we have the money, the budget to support this until like April next year, and the timeline to build it and then hit that 3-year window. So I guess just any words of comfort around sort of flexibility, and I know you've got your timelines, but how to navigate your commercial procurement tendering work to get this vessel, and I guess we'd be looking at doing that with some enhanced measures and alternative fuel electrification measures in it. But if that didn't come through and you didn't secure the funding, you'd have to revert to kind of plan a normal vessel potentially. So it's just really how any advice on navigating these process, the funding process, and your commercial new build exercise. Yeah.
So I think the key question was in there is there any flexibility to deal with commercial variables? The answer is no. So the project has to start on the 1st of April. You have to get your application in by the 16th. We're talking about ZEVI 2 here. You have to get your application in by the 16th of September. We recognise there's going to be some huge procurement activities going on here. What we've done is we've first off increased the application window. I know it's, for the really huge ones, it's probably still not, a huge amount, but hopefully you get a better idea with the huge application window as compared to the ZEVI 1, which was much less. So we still got a bit of time, 16th September, for you to work up the ideas behind this. We've also got a bigger delivery timescale. So whereas ZEVI 1 was 18 months, this is now 2 years and 9 months. So that should take away some of the supply chain risk. Now, come application, we'd expect you to have an idea of who would be able to tender for these things. Ideally, at application, you need to name your subcontractors. You don't have to, but you should. And the problem you'll have with some of these big tenders is that recognise that some of them may, you may, for some people in the industry outside its grant funding, have to go overseas for their shipyard contracts. Now, if you have a giant cost within your application, which is unnamed and could potentially go overseas, the assessors will pick up on that, and they will be looking at the value for money. So do just bear that in mind. We can't flex timelines. We can't flex the application deadline. We can't flex the project timelines. So I'm afraid you'll have to work within those.
Thanks again.
Okay, thanks Simon. Thanks James as well. I see Ian has followed up on his question. Main question was really about the 80% being of the total capital cost, or the capital cost times the overall funding level, i.e. the percentage grant. Thanks for dealing with it live. Only really occurred to me it could be the former when we were speaking. So there we are. So I'm looking around the room. Is there any more questions? Are there any more questions? I don't see any more hands up. I might shamelessly plug the Scottish Maritime Cluster now. I can see quite a few familiar faces around the room. For those who are not members of the Scottish Maritime Cluster, please do go onto our website. Please contact blair.molia@scottishmaritimecluster.com or brian.fulton@scottishmaritimecluster.com, and we will give you a lot more details on everything that the Scottish Maritime Cluster does, including events like this. And I see James has just shown his face as well, who is also one of the directors of the Scottish Maritime Cluster. So I'd just like to thank Ian, Joshua, James and Simon for everything that they've presented on today. I think that was really useful for everybody on the call. As I say, we will also be sharing the video on our website, and the slides and the links that have been put into the messages there. And thank you to Blair for operating the slides as well. That's all been very helpful. So other than that, thank you everybody. And unless anybody's got anything else, I'll wish you all a very good day.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, team.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.